So hi, my name is Jason Feifer. I'm the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine, and I'm really excited to do this panel because this is it. This is the dream, right? The dream is to build a company, build an amazing company that somebody wants to pay you a ton of money for. What you see on this stage, living the dream. This is what it looks like right here. Sitting on a panel talking about all the money you made. It's the dream, folks. Very exciting. We have 4 amazing founders who have sold their companies, and what I want to do here is have a brief conversation with them about some of the main points that they've learned along the way, the advice that they have for entrepreneurs who are on that same journey as them. And then I want to open it up to questions early, because I assume you guys have a lot of questions. If you don't, we'll keep gabbing, but I really want to make sure that this conversation here is as useful to you all as possible. So, to start, we're just going to go down the line rather than me introducing. I'd like you all to introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about the journey of the company to acquisition, and then the most surprising thing to you about that experience. It could have been in growing it could have been in selling, it could have been what happened after the sale, but what was the thing that you least expected? And I will begin to my left.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Gwen Whiting. I'm co-founder of the Laundress. 15 years ago, we launched our eco-friendly cleaning company. We specialized in laundry, hence the name, the Laundress. And we were in laundry, fabric care, and we grew to home cleaning and the natural extension of all fabric care and housekeeping related elements. And we really were just focused in our space and creating the best product for the need that we had in the market, which was all of our clothing was labeled dry clean only. And the options were Tide, Woolite, and the dry cleaner. But we knew from our textile backgrounds that the majority of those clothes that were labeled were really washable. And there was a real void in the market that there wasn't a product that you could use to care properly for your clothes. And this is anything from your favorite jeans to a cashmere sweater to easily getting a yellow armpit stain out of your favorite t-shirt. So that was really our mission for our brand and creating the products. And we were really product-driven and know-how driven. Our passion is really not only making the literal solutions, the liquid solutions, but the actual know-how and the solution, empowering people with the know-how to solve their own problems at home.
And you were bought by?
We were acquired by Unilever in January.
Noella.
Hi, Jason. My name is Noella Gabriel. I am co-founder and president of ELEMIS. ELEMIS is a luxury premium skincare, and to bring a British skincare into that realm to compete with, as you know, the beasts of this world, which we respect, are in awe of, and to compete and be successful. So we also, 30 years ago, 1990, a long time, we launched a large concept into skincare, and it was all a lifestyle concept. Very on trend right now, you may say, but we were naive maybe, but we were very passionate, and we believed we could bring that lifestyle concept into skincare, and have done. We've been into the public model for about 20, 25 years. We used that investment wisely. We ran it lean and mean, an amazing experience. And then 3 years ago, we were acquired by Kensington, the private equity, and then our journey really began. We were 3 years into that, and now acquired by L'Occitane. And as Jason said, what was the surprise in all of that? I think the big surprise in all of that is that you build this amazing brand, incredible growth, and then you have to go out on the road and sell it as well. And you kind of think, God, you know, bloody hell, here I am 30 years and I've built this thing, and I now have to go out and go into the process of selling. And, you know, that in itself was a journey. And I think probably the biggest, steepest learning curve for any co-founder was to hold the ethos and the vision of your brand for your teams and ultimately for your client.
Michael.
My name is Michael Cammarata. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Schmidt Naturals. We started with a mission to make a natural deodorant that works, and we started off with 4 employees, 1,200 square feet, and a pet turtle that kept walking over from the other office to visit us. Fast forward, it was only a handful of years where we went up to 160 employees, and we were on our roadmap to go to an IPO. And at the last moment, we made a pivot to, which was actually a surprising moment, from going from an IPO to selling to Unilever. And it's been an exciting journey, and that's a quick version.
Mark.
My name's Mark. I'm the co-founder of Sir Kensington's. We make food. We make good food. We started in 2010 with the realization that food was changing, but condiments were not. And we started making ketchup in our dorm room in college, my co-founder and I. And now we're a business that has a mission of bringing integrity and charm to ordinary and overlooked food. So we make a line of natural, non-GMO condiments and dressings. We started in 2010 just with ketchup. We built the business over the course of, I guess, 9 years now. We were acquired 2 years ago by Unilever, which was also a surprise because we weren't looking to sell, but it happened. And now I'm up on the stage. But I think the most surprising part of my journey was that I guess the realization that a lot of like these panels, they focus on, product market fit and white space and the sort of the business mechanics of entrepreneurship. But I learned pretty quickly that it's actually about the team that you can assemble, the team that you can retain, and the team that you can train, because that translates to culture, as we were saying, but it also translates to results. So it was much harder to do all those things than I expected, and it was surprising how important it was.
So, 3 sales to Unilever. We will spend the rest of the time trash-talking Unilever. What do you have to say? No? Nothing? We're not going to live tweet that? So let's talk about getting into it. Building a company that is an acquisition target. Actually, Mark, I want to just pick up on what you said, that it was one of the things that really surprised you was that this is really all about team and culture. Can you guys speak to how building something that, I don't think that is what the first thing people would think of when they're building a company with the thought of getting acquired, is that what you're building is a culture that somebody wants. You'd think that it's just about scale, it's about product, it's about filling a white space. Can you guys speak to what that other intangible thing is?
Well, I think there's the culture, there's the people that are your employees, but you also have to look at the culture that's your investors or your stakeholders. And I think what I learned very on through my first couple companies that I sold was that I used to go out to the marketplace and have investors come, because then I felt like they were supporting the cause or they're supporting it. I wasn't looking at the stakeholders or them as employees in the beginning. So now, and what I've done with building companies is I look at the strategic value of everybody, whether it be an employee, and the mission, the purpose, and what's driving everybody. Because in the beginning, when you're first starting the company, before $10 million in revenue, you're really also impacting how you're going to sell the company when you go to sell it. And you don't even realize that. So it's not, when you go and you look at the investors, I would look at the same way you hire employees. And I wouldn't, to that point, I would just make sure that you have the right culture fit on the investor side, the stakeholder side, as well as the employees. And some of my employees I've had since I was 13. That have come through multiple journeys. And so I think that's something that I would add into the picture.
Yeah, can I just, sorry, Gwen. For me, I think vision is a key link in the chain here. I think as a co-founder, you have to be very defined in where are we taking this brand? Where do you really want this brand to be? And once you have clarity around that vision, it then attracts the right talent into your brand. There is no doubt about that. You cannot do it alone. It is truly a team effort, but it is a team built with like-minded people, visionary people, entrepreneurial spirit, and they're not easy to manage. Trust me, they really are challenging for an entrepreneur in herself. But you must bring in, and I joke, I always say, we build a motley crew here, because it's the motley crew, it's the difference, it's the edgy, that brings that energy and drive behind the brand. And I think then you have a piece of magic. Then you have something that people want. And you need to make that noise and push the boundaries, especially in skincare. You know, I don't know how difficult it is in food for Mark and Michael here, I'm sure it is, but my God, look at the skincare market. I mean, to be heard and to get your head above the parrot there is really, really, really hard.
Yeah, I think to add on to that is that vision, Lindsay, my partner, and I, we wrote our business plan before we even knew how to make soap. We wrote a plan before we knew any technicalities, but we were so clear on our vision, crystal clear, that to this day, when we were going through the acquisition, all we did was plug in dates of accomplishment and sales figures for all of the projects that we had itemized in that business plan. And since we were clear on our mission and our vision and our passion for the brand, that was very easy for us to share and integrate into our company, into our culture, so that everybody understood and felt the passion and was along the journey with us.
So in this first part of our panel, before we open it to questions, I wanted to sort of speed through some of the big beats in building a company to acquisition. And so when you are getting to the point where maybe you're hearing from companies that are potentially interested in acquiring you, those conversations are starting. What is your advice for what entrepreneurs should be looking for? How do they engage those conversations? How do they vet? It was interesting to hear both of you said that the Unilever acquisition was a surprise. I bet a lot of people want to know what that means. I would like to surprise be acquired by Unilever. I'm like waiting for that to happen. It hasn't happened yet.
It's a trend.
Yeah. Can you speak to what entrepreneurs should be looking for during that stage of their business?
It was a slow burn surprise. It was a surprise at first. Yeah, I grew over time. Well, just to back up a bit, I would say, first of all, not every business needs to be acquired. So I think long before you start the entrepreneurial, as you're starting the entrepreneurial journey, it's worth even asking, is this business being built to be sold? I assume if you're here, because you're interested in having a business be sold, but there are plenty of business models that are very successful that don't require raising money and selling a business. And I think when you build a business to be sold, or with the hope for it to be sold, you end up building things slightly differently and doing things slightly differently. So that would be one point, which is really understand what you want. And then when the people start coming to you, I think it really does come down to values, right? I think you really have to decide what's most important to you. If what you value in your trade-offs, because you don't get everything in an acquisition, you never do. So you can maybe weigh price higher than other things. So if you want to maximize the price that you get, you're going to trade off on other things. So I think really understanding what are the values of the people you're talking to. Are they a financial buyer? Are they a values-driven buyer? We're a B Corp at Sir Kensington's. That was something that our buyer, Unilever, was very interested in. Other people were not. So we decided to value that, and there were trade-offs that we made. So I think first understand what you want and what's important to you for the future, and only then can you start to figure out who are the right partners.
I think it's also interesting if we were founder-owned. We didn't have any other outside capital or partners or investors. So we were able to choose our partner and choose the right partner that we wanted to take our brand to the next level. And we built our brand expecting to sell all along. We didn't expect it to be 15 years, but that was our goal. Our goal was to build a beautiful brand that was amazing, that worked, and made people happy and loved laundry. And we wanted the right partner to take our brand to the next level so that more people could have a Laundress experience. But we were able to have that flexibility to choose the right partner versus a financial partner making those decisions for us.
Can I also say that there's an emotional link here as well? As a co-founder, you have to make a decision. Do you want to live on with this brand? Let's be really honest in this room. Are you here for the checkbook, or are you here to take this brand to the next level and continue the dream? I think that's really important for the most. And secondly, we were in a private equity model, and we as co-founders drove the next level of movement. I think that also is important. So you stay in the driving seat as a co-founder at all times. And that's hard work. That's intentional. We want to take this brand into the #1 leading skincare brand. And that's a vision, and hold on to that. So you can't sell it short just because the checkbook comes in. I think there is that as well, and I think it has to be said in this room from a co-founder perspective. The next journey is the exciting journey.
And I think to add in, because when you're looking to sell a company, you probably made that choice in the very beginning. So I have a lot of investments in the companies, hundreds of different companies, and then I create a lot of different companies. And when I'm building a company, the primary goal is to how do I build a company that has a purpose and is going to help the planet. That's my personal driver. And I look for, is it distribution that I'm trying to get? Is it market share I'm trying to get? And I involve the people, whether it be employees, stakeholders, for strategic values. And so when you go down that journey, you should, A, make sure you solve a problem. Because there's so many people that pitch me brands, and it's like, I'm natural, I'm this, and this. And I'm like, what impact are you leaving? Why would I get invested into it? Or why do the consumers get invested into it? And with deodorant, we're able to make a powder-based deodorant in mass manufacturing. It may not sound like a lot, but it changed the way natural deodorants are perceived and the effectiveness of them. And before that, they were liquid-based. We actually had to build a factory to make it in the beginning, and I knew nothing about factories. And so, but I'm a quick study. But we solved the problem. We pushed the category or the channel, the product, further. And that's where you start getting that momentum. And then you start getting offers or investors and PE funds, and they all start coming at you. But you have to stay focused on your core mission. And you probably should, with your key partners in the beginning, define, are you going to sell the company? Are you going to try and go public? Are you going to hold this company and it be a legacy that you're going to leave? You should decide that in the beginning so you do not have issues in the end. And those are where I see a lot of issues go wrong. So like I ask people, like, what problem are you solving when you go into building this product line? What do you want to do with the company? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to hold it? What is the purpose driving you to build this? And those are then how I decide if I get involved or invest into it, or if I bring a group of people together to create and solve a problem. So I think you decide that in the beginning, because ultimately, in the end, you're going to live with those choices that you may not have realized you made.
You know, it's interesting. I was going to ask next about what it's been like to maintain the culture and what makes your company unique while now being owned by somebody else. Though listening to your answers makes me realize that a lot of the groundwork for that challenge was laid far earlier, right? Things like what you were just discussing with making sure that you as the founder understand what your role is going to be going forward, and also making sure that, as Gwen, you were talking about, that you have the right culture fit with the company that you're speaking to about selling. And so it makes me wonder if you feel like you got it right leading in, if there were surprises once it actually happened. What's that experience been like, and what advice do you have, all of you, for scaling the company once it is under a different ownership?
Well, I think you're right, Jason, because, you know, don't forget, you do wake up on Monday morning and the banker is gone and the private equity are gone, and you're staring and looking your new owner in the eye. Don't forget that, because that day does dawn. And I think, as Jason said, you have to find someone like-minded, especially in the skincare domain. You really do. Somebody that has an ethos, that believes in you and your dream and where you're going. And we did lay down those rules very early on, and we didn't compromise on them. L'Occitane came forward and have a like-minded entrepreneurial spirit. They look on us as the jewel in the crown, so there's an elevation there. We are that Lux side, they are that middle tier, so we complement them beautifully. And it's to us right now, okay, we're in the honeymoon period. I'm only 3 months in. I'll be talking next year, so I'll let you know how I get on. But so far, so good. But you have to fight for it. You know, it just doesn't come easy. I'm sure Gwen is early in as well. We were just talking earlier. Every day is the push and shove for your DNA to stay and for that passion that you've laid down 30 years ago. So you just cannot sell it short. But just because you're bought and you get the check certainly doesn't make it easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were the newest acquisition up here. So, Unilever was very frank about some mistakes that they've made and learnings that they've had. So there was some sense of openness about how to go about it, and nothing's ever perfect. But for us, it really feels that I feel like I'm in college. So I went to Cornell. I was in a small college, one of the many colleges under the Cornell umbrella, and I was taking my curriculum, but there was this huge Cornell University that I could go to all the different libraries, I could go to all the different departments, I could take a class in another college and to pick and choose from different resources. So that's sort of the angle of what we're taking on, is that we are independent, we're remaining independent, but we have this major university resource at our hands, and really just being able to take advantage of it in the right ways.
What you're not saying is that we were the guinea pigs that they learned from. So you've benefited from that. You're welcome. I'll say two learnings. One is when you're going into the negotiation, you're really your only chance to define what your priorities are. It sort of relates back to that values point. You lose every bit of leverage that you have once they are your new owners. Maybe this sounds obvious, but don't prioritize negotiating price and then think that you can get your control back later. Those things, in my experience, are usually you get one, but you don't get both. And so those things are a bit of a trade-off. So if you want the highest price possible, you're probably going to give up a lot. So when we were going through the process, we defined very clearly what are the things that are most important to us. One of those was control over team and people. And had we not done that then, we certainly wouldn't have as much control as we do now. And you never get it back once you give it up. So that's one piece of advice. And then the second is generally, my experience has been that big CPG businesses, they prioritize or see a lot of value in the power of brand. And founders and entrepreneurs see a lot of power in and priority in the power of people. And so their default is going to be, this brand is going to grow, and we're going to put it on the shelf, and the brand power, brand, because they have multi-billion-dollar global brands. But as small brands, you're not there yet. And so knowing that going into the negotiation is something that you should keep in mind.
All right, as promised, I want to throw it up into questions early. All right, well, that entire row has a question. It's amazing. Inquisitive row. Sir.
Hi, I'm Pri, full disclosure, former Unilever marketer.
They had a spy
But you're going
here.
to trash talk
Spy the whole time.
I am looking to move to the other side, and I guess the question I would have, and I'm not sure if the brand versus people focus counts as this, but without naming Unilever maybe, what do companies like Unilever get wrong when it comes to managing businesses such as yours once they've taken over?
Oh, so we actually do have Unilever trash talk. It was a joke earlier, but now it's actually happening. So thank you. So the question, for those who didn't hear, what do companies like Unilever get wrong in the approach?
Well, I think it's like as I said, it's very key to your business partners, right? And for us, we look at Unilever as a partner. It was able to get us into 129 countries and global distribution, something that I couldn't have done even if I went IPO. When you're going into a new family, I looked at it, there's two ways you can look at it. It's like you can look at your core team, or you can look at it as we're infecting the host. So future acquisitions can benefit from that. Not to point that out. But the Unilever was actually unique. We had 11 strategics that made an offer to buy us, and then 28 some funds and stuff along those lines. But when I was meeting with all the different acquisition potentials, Unilever was the one that really embraced the founder's mentality, and it looked at it as more of an enhancement. Now, there's definitely been rocky roads, and we've pushed a lot of buttons, and I'm a diehard founder and really have a vision that I want to execute on. But what I found out with Unilever is they adapted to us. They're like, okay, this is what we think. Then when we hit the crossroads, then we go back and we rethink it and we come up with a plan. So they've been really embracing us, to be quite honest. And so I actually think that in this situation, and I've sold companies to other entities in the past that were the friction was a lot harder and didn't bend. Unilever actually bent and embraced and actually helped magnify what we were doing. So I think we were very lucky that we made the choice to go with Unilever.
We'll stay in the row.
Unilever's sustainable living goals are very ambitious as a CPG company, and the current CEO was quoted in Cannes recently talking about woke washing and purpose washing. So for the best up-and-coming brands who want to attract acquisition from someone who has these purpose-driven goals, how do you authentically incubate a purpose beyond profit with a line of sight to acquisition? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So
Purpose.
yeah, the
To be
purpose-driven
acquired.
goals. So anyway, she was talking about how Unilever is very ambitious in its kind of mission orientation, and she was asking how do, correct me if I'm wrong, how do companies incubate a mission-driven goal, particularly if you're interested in connecting with a company like Unilever that is so receptive to those missions.
I mean, I think it's something that you have as part of your actual brand ethos. I mean, for us, it was we wanted an eco-friendly product. We wanted alternative to dry cleaning. We wanted to empower people and improve lives. All of this is purpose-driven, and within the last 15 years, it's really exciting. Yes, there is a lot of confusion in the market and a lot of noise about what is good and what's bad, but there's also a lot of innovation and a lot of movement in the market where you have more accessibility to raw materials and to recyclability and all of these improvements. So it's not just to put your stake in the sand and say this is who we are, but really to have a mission and an ethos and a vision that you can work with and evolve with, I think.
And I think it's never been a better time to start a brand and to really be a purpose-driven brand. Because Unilever is going out into the market and saying, hey, we're going to be acquiring and supporting purpose-driven brands. But if you even step back, is like when on my own journey, I used to drink a lot of Coca-Colas and I was not so healthy. And then over time, I started becoming more healthy as I started researching about it. 50% of all diagnoses come from what you put in, on, and around your body. So that means most people talk about, oh, I'm going to go eat healthy food and I'm going to go work out. But people are forgetting, when you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you're using a toothpaste, you're using a shampoo, you're using synthetic fragrances all around you. And there's so much white space right now to be a purpose-driven brand that just makes clean product. And I think that that's something that Unilever's picked up on very early and is embracing that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for brands to be started right now.
I'm wondering how your day-to-day responsibilities changed or shifted once you were acquired. Did you feel that you were more freed up to pursue your mission without worrying about the nuts and bolts, or did you feel that you were then sort of more in the wheelhouse of having to justify the decisions that you were making?
So the question is, how did your day-to-day responsibilities change once you were acquired?
It changed in expected and unexpected ways. So we were, unlike some of these other businesses, well, I actually don't know what's going on with your business, but unlike with the Laundress, our business was integrated into Unilever's North American business. So we are part of their North American portfolio, which practically speaking means I used to spend a third of my time thinking about money. So cash flow, investors, working capital, inventory, and now I spend 0 of my time on that, so that's nice. But on the other hand, when you're integrated into that machine, you actually have to spend a lot of your time selling that machine, selling to that machine, so the machine works for you. So Unilever has 1,000 people selling in North America, and we had to spread our message far and wide to those people so they could go out and sell it. So I don't think about money anymore, which is a luxury, for sure, but I do think about things that I didn't have to do before, which was how do you get all of these people invested in the mission, in the values, in the purpose, understanding the product? How do you fit in the sales hierarchy? How do you fit into the supply chain? So that's a whole new set of work that I didn't have to do before.
And I think from a skincare point of view, nothing's changed, really. And I think one of the questions earlier was, how does the consumer see the change? And absolutely not. And they shouldn't, actually. It should be seamless. Other than I've moved from the UK to the US and enjoying every moment of it, and I'm new to New York. That's a big change, but I wanted that, and I've driven that myself. I'm managing, mentoring, directing people all day, every day, just as I did before. We're creating beautiful product. In fact, in many cases, we have a greater investment into it, so that's exciting. The investment is there, which may have been lean and mean before. So yes, it's not all doom and gloom. For us right now, we're enjoying this ride. We're with like-minded people, where there's no integration. We may see opportunities for Asia and for us to take this brand globally, that we can come together. But right now, ELEMIS is standing on its own 2 feet with the support of like-minded people and with great investment. So it's a win-win.
And I think with Unilever, you get a choice. You can be a standalone entity, and you can be a hybrid, or you can be integrated. And I think the opportunity, though, is really looking at it. It's like you went from 100 employees or 20 employees or whatever the amount is to now having 160,000 employees globally in 129 different offices. So you want to make sure, in my mind, and what I wanted to make sure is that we get to utilize the capacities of Unilever globally, because that's something that was so unique that we couldn't do. Like, if you look in, like, even to give an example, like in Venezuela, there is not one other strategic in Venezuela besides Unilever. And it's not a cost benefit. They're not making money in that, but they're supporting those people and trying to deliver products there. So for me, it was like, how do I activate all of these different offices, and how do I bring them along, as you point, on the journey with us to bring these natural products globally? And so for me, it was exciting because I woke up with 160,000 more employees. They may not have known they were working for the deodorant brand yet, but we're educating them every day.
Who did you bring to the negotiating table, and who did they bring to the negotiating table? So what was your life like in preparation for that negotiating moment?
The details of the negotiation. Who'd you bring to the negotiating table? How do you have a
literally
practical
who was at the table, or figuratively?
Yeah, like who was your team? Like who did you know?
My wife was there. That was a
like,
long 3 months. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw the earlier panel with Nick Giannuzzi up here, but he was our lawyer at the time, and easily the most valuable partner in that process was our legal team, led by Nick, because, well, one, these things are very complicated, and we produced, 3,000 pages of legal documents in 2 weeks, and there's just a lot that you're not necessarily going to be thinking about that they will think about for you. So they approached this really, yes, they were protecting Sir Kensington's, the company, but they were also very focused on me and Scott as founders and on us as a broader team. So there were a lot of people involved. Like, there were also full-time team members who were involved. We kind of did it in secret because if it didn't work, we didn't necessarily want the whole team to know. So there was a subset of the team working on it. They put in crazy hours, 20-hour days for 4 weeks, basically. Our lawyers, too. And then, of course, all of our families being so supportive of us, like, disappearing for a month.
And who did Unilever bring?
Sorry?
Who did the buying company bring? Did they have, like, a huge...
She said, who did the buying company bring? I think she wants, like, a picture. You know, it would actually be pretty cool. Like, what is the literal picture? Take us to the visual moment where you and Unilever or whoever are talking.
Yeah, well, actually, it's, like, probably what you picture, which is, it was in a big lawyer's office in Midtown, and there was a huge table, and there were 7 people from Unilever on one side, including some lawyers, and there were 7 of us on the other side. And we got there at 9 a.m. on a Monday, 8 a.m. on a Monday, and the charge was these documents need to be done before end of day today. So we were there until 4 in the morning, and we got a lot of sushi and pizza for dinner, and people were so delirious that some people put sushi roll on the pizza, and they were like, we're never going to leave this office. And the reason it had to be done was because we were announcing to the team Tuesday morning with Case, the guy who actually bought all 3 of these companies. He was coming to our office to announce it to the team at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. So the charge was this has to be done by 10 a.m. on Tuesday. At 10 a.m. it was not done, but we went into the room to announce it anyway, and I got the text at 10:06 that everything had been signed. So it ended up working out, but it wasn't like a day-long intense negotiation, but it was comical in how stereotypical it was.
It's a little bit like speed dating, really, because we set out in August. The brand was ripe, it was ready, everything was right, well in position. We had invested into our innovation. Everything was just coming. I mean, I read something Jason said yesterday. He said there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's just the timing, and timing is really important here. And for us, we just felt the moment was now. We then went on the road, and it is a road show, And with a product brand, you got to bring your brand with you because you got to get them excited about the product is the hero. Let's be really honest. That's what they're purchasing. We're behind it, driving it, but that product is going to be the legacy. There is no doubt about that. So you get out your product and you play with your product and you present your brand and you do a 3-hour session and it goes back to back to back. And as Michael said, it could go on to 12 o'clock at night. And we went all over Asia and UK and US. So you need to have stamina and resilience. And the love affair has to happen. And when the love affair happens, you get it. Honestly, it really is. It's like a light bulb moment. They walk out of the room and you think, I like them. And then you pursue them and you start the love affair. But it is as easy as that, but it's also as difficult as that.
Yeah, I mean, we asked for years what the process was, and everyone says, oh, well, every deal is different. Well, clearly, that's a crazy story, Mark. I didn't know about that situation.
Yeah, you made a face when he said 4 a.m.
I was like, what? This is the closing? Yes, every deal is different. All of our stores are different. We were not in the market. We weren't prepared for this. This was our hope and dream, but we weren't actually in a process to be vetting at that point. So I think what I can say in hindsight is my word of advice is to meet lawyers, to meet bankers, to meet people, to have as many conversations in advance, whether you think it's next year, 3 years, or whatever, but to really get as much information and organization behind you and really kind of have a short list of people that you would consider working with if and when the time comes.
And I think you got to think of it, it's more like a new music band that's starting or a rock concert. You start off with your vision and you're going IPO, and then all of a sudden Goldman Sachs shows up with an offer from this strategic, and then next thing you know, you have all of these bankers that start showing up. So I think when it got to our 5 in the morning or 11, we went through to 11 in the morning when he was announcing at his holiday party before he was going to the UK. We had probably 4 law firms that were in the room. Goldman Sachs was handling the M&A side, and then we had JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley looking at the IPO options. But it's definitely something that started off with like, we're going IPO, and then all these people came. But the best advice I can give you is make sure you do fixed fees with your attorneys, because those 5 a.m. cost a lot of money.
So 2 takeaways here. Number 1, sushi on pizza, the dinner of champions. And number 2, be ready at any point, a Unilever surprise acquisition. It could leap out of the bushes and acquire you at any time. I'm very excited. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for Mark, Michael, Noella, and Gwen for sharing your insights. Appreciate it.